Hey everybody, Robot here from Vespa Motorsport, scooterwest.com. So today I'm going to replace some of the cosmetic parts on this 2015 Primavera. Pretty much same steps for a Sprint, whether it's a 50, the 125 or 150, they're all pretty much the same bodywork. From 2014 is when this came out, all the way up to the current model. So put a new mirror on here, it's already been done. We fixed a gap on the glove box, we put new trim, leg shield trim, a new passenger foot peg, and we fixed a turn signal. And believe it or not, it's unbelievably simple to replace all these parts. You only need a couple tools. So let's get right into it. All right, so part one, the easy stuff. So we got a mirror. It's already loose because it was knocked. So just go ahead and spin the left mirror clockwise to take it off. And if you're on the right mirror, it's going to be counterclockwise. So just kind of remember that the threads are reversed. One other thing to keep in mind, there's a pair of washers right there. So I'm going to level the handlebars. Make sure those washers don't fall into the bodywork. If they do, or you could use a magnet or something to hold them in place. But there you go. A lot of times this mirror stem will just break off when you crash the scooter. Two ways to go about it. If it's the left side and you can't extract it, the least expensive option is to replace this whole lever perch, and it's the perch that holds the mirror along with the lever. I have another video on how to change those. It's a very popular part. When you break or hit this really hard, sometimes it'll break the perch, or the mirror will break off in the perch. If it's the right side, that one's easier to fix because it's just standard threads, and you could put a Healy coil in there, extract it pretty easily. So we got a brand new left mirror. So CM 182101. I think it's 102 for the right side mirror. Not going to replace the right side mirror. And there's the little bag of washers in there, but the washers have stayed in place already, so I'm not going to mess with those. So push the rubber back. What I like to do is remove this. This is not 100% necessary, but if you're in somewhere where it gets wet a lot, this is anti-seize. You can find it in a really small packet, but on every lift here at Vespa Motorsport, I have a whole bottle of anti-seize. Believe it or not, San Diego is kind of a coastal environment, so things corrode here, kind of like the Rust Belt a little bit. Put the mirror and it's kind of counterintuitive. Turning that counterclockwise to tighten it, not clockwise like a standard thread. So get the mirror head right over the grip, about like that, kind of like such. Take your 17mm combination wrench and go ahead and tighten that. Push the rubber down. So simple enough. We got the mirror replaced. Lost my screwdriver. So the turn signal's super simple to replace. So there's a single screw. You're going to need a small Phillips screwdriver. So the one that looks like a cross. Pull the screw out, kind of have your hand underneath it. Sometimes the screw will want to stay in place. Sometimes it'll fall out. So I have my hand under there kind of to capture everything. And this pulls apart into three separate pieces. You got the lens, the reflector with the bulb, if you had to change a bulb, and the little screw right there. FYI, if the lens or the reflector is broken or the wire's broken, you just buy the whole pod. But when it snaps out of this rubber base, you could just push the black plastic back into place, and there's these two fangs or prongs right here, and they engage into that rubber just like that. And now it's all back in place. And that's pretty much the same steps for all four corners of the turn signals found on the North American market Primavera and Sprint. Some other Vespa and Piaggio models that have these pods. Everybody else in the world is probably laughing at this because these are the turn signals in all the other markets, not these silly pods, but it's the way they do it here. A lot of silly stuff they do here in USA and North America in general. So there you go, that's all fixed. So the next part, probably the hardest part, we're gonna go ahead and remove the glove box. And in some cases, you may need to remove the floorboard if you want to replace this lower trim. I'm gonna probably be able to extract the remains of this foot peg with no problem. There's a broken chunk of it, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the glove box. Put the key in the ignition, depending on the model. Sometimes you gotta turn it one click over to open up the glove box, so push it in. Make sure there's no personal stuff in here, so get whatever contents you have in the glove box out. And this is an early model with no ABS, so you actually have a very roomy glove box. A lot of the models, they'll have a little, there won't be pretty much any glove box on this side because there's an ABS module, and you'll take a little cover off to get to a screw. So very different on this model. This is only kind of the first years of the Primavera, kind of the best years with 11-inch front tire. I like the little tire on it. So go ahead and pull these rubber plugs out. Can be in there pretty tight. So they just pull out. They're identical left and right, so don't worry about IDing them. So, and this is the hard part. You got a glove box in the way. And in some of the videos, I've used a nice fancy right angle driver to get those out, but I'm just going to use an old-fashioned screwdriver that has the T30 Torx. So start with the easy one, which is right in the middle. Set that screw aside, and then you're going to have one on both the left and right side. It's pretty nice not having that ABS module in the way. Just haven't worked on one of these for quite a long time. Same screw, then on left side. Perfect time to do a light kit on here too, if you're pulling the glove box off. If you don't want to replace those, repair the pod turn signals. And these ones are the tricky ones. You're going to have to bend the glove box down just a little bit, kind of get your screwdriver angled in there. And the trick is freeing it up. Yeah, it's not the best angle to work with, and it's what I find sometimes you just go down to a T25 or T27 because you get more angle, but you want to break the fastener free with the T30 because otherwise you may strip the fastener. So that's like a little trick. And we'll do the same on this side. Kind of put a little bit of pressure on the door. And they're in there tight. Well, I had to give in and use the T30 bit on a ratchet. Nice right angle ratchet. So that's pretty much the trick when you can't even break it free with a hand driver. And that is tight. There we go. Not cross-threaded, it's just very tight. And we'll get in there with that T25. So both those screws are in there. You can use a magnet to extract them. All right, so I'm gonna take a rag, put it across the floorboard because I don't want to scratch anything. These two screws are out of the way. Typically I pull from the bottom, and it pulled away pretty easy because some of those tabs weren't in there. Normally it's a little more work than that. And there's gonna be some cables. This one's so old that there's not the USB port or anything in there, so nothing to worry about. I'm not gonna disconnect everything, but there's a single connector back here for your button. And I think that's all I need to do to pull this to the side. The fuse holder's in place, and there's also a manual seat release cable. We're gonna leave those all in place and kind of just move the glove box out. All right, so at this point, we're gonna take the trim off. This is such an early model. They still have Phillips screws in here. Shortly after, they went to the T25 Torx screws to hold the trim on. So there's several screws all the way around. all the same. They thread into a little plastic kind of square nylon nut that's snapped into the frame. That's available as a spare part, but typically they hold up pretty well. You need to shift the glove box away a little bit, but there's still enough slack from these cables here, so no issues there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 fasteners. And it just pulls right away. So what I find is this one on the floorboard doesn't oftentimes get damaged. It's mostly this upper one that takes the brunt of the damage when the scooter falls over. So we stock all the trim pieces. Part number for the left-hand side is 673, 638. They're all pretty close. It's like 639, 640, 641. And even this little middle piece is a separate piece of trim. All available on the Scooter West web store. We also have some of the special edition pieces that are painted various colors depending on, if it's a Vespa Electrica or a sport model. So I have all these screws ready to go. Holding the trim in place, I started from the top. Just hold it in place and we'll start at the bottom here. And you want to keep some pressure on the trim. Kind of make sure that gap stays nice and closed. And just work your way up with the fasteners. The holes are a little bit large, so you kind of push the trim as you tighten down the screw. Not going too tight, but enough to hold it in place. And the last screw here. So simple enough. If you do want to change the floorboard trim, this trim is actually attached to the floorboard and not to the body like this one. So typically remove the floorboard, we'd loosen up this trim and remove additional fasteners to get the floorboard. So the trim's all in place. The edge looks really nice on the outside. So on this left side, there's a pretty good gap, and we may need to just do a little adjustment to the leg shield. So it kind of flexes a little bit, and you may need to do a couple tries. I'm just giving it a little push and twist, to kind of twist the whole leg shield. There's a pair of like metal stanchions back here that do flex a little bit, so that hold this upper part of the sheet metal body. So let's give it a try and see how it all goes together. So I'm not going to close the glove box all the way. We're going to plug the connector in because that's the last thing. Don't want to miss that. And actually, before I plug it in, see this little tab right here? If it's like that, you're going to be stuck with a glove box closed. So make sure this little thing is flipped down. So that little thing needs to be flipped down. So now I'll go back to plugging that in. And this is when you need to get a little medieval with the whole thing here. So it's definitely easier if you don't have the handlebars or the handlebar covers in place. But and typically I like to hold this down. So we'll start from the top. And those are the screws. So giving it a couple technical taps, so I like to call them. Let's see if it pops out. Looks like it's closing up the gap pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll start with just this top screw here, kind of see how everything's lining up and holding in place. Before I even close the glove box, I want to make sure so sometimes you need to key in. That little latch is opening and closing. That's really important. And we'll put one screw on this side here and see how things start closing up. Because if it doesn't quite close up, we may need to flex on the leg shields just a little bit more to get things to line up. So I got one screw on the side, the left side here. A little bit of paint chipped on that side. There we go. Do a little touch up there. The paint was chipped probably when it was in the crash right there, and it's losing a little bit of paint. So this little gap needs to go up a little bit. You may need to loosen the screws and pull the glove box up. There we go. Just need another technical tap. I need to check this side. I think it popped out a little bit. There we go. Now the top popped out, so I need to kind of mess with that a little bit more. May need to flex on the leg shield. Let's see if it will. There you go. I think that's pretty good right now. So those gripper clips are all snapped back in place. And we'll continue to put more screws in. All right, so the last screw. It's already got the little socket right here. As you can see, these are extra fun to reinstall. They're in a cavity. Trying to stay out of the camera here, but there we go. Sometimes make sure the wires aren't pinched. Anywhere if you're having troubles, just take it apart and check everything, try again. You may need to bend the leg shield even more. So there you go, got all the screws in place. Double check this, close it, moment of truth, the glove box open, yep. Still good there. We'll put our rubber caps in. So we got that gap closed up and new trim on the glove box. So that was the most difficult of all my little trim projects on this scooter here. And these little caps are to change the incandescent turn signal bulbs on the European models that had the turn signal bulbs, because they're actually, even though they have LED running lights, they have incandescent bulbs for the turn signals. And then close that up. All right, so the last part, we're going to replace the foot peg. Pretty inexpensive, 675052000C for the left, and I think it's 675053000C for the other side. Sometimes it's just worth buying these because your parts are faded and they look ugly. Time to replace them. So first of all, you can see this part, it doesn't have these gripper clips. So one of them's just missing. I would order the gripper clips extra. They're pretty inexpensive. Part number on these gripper clips is D, I don't remember all the numbers. I thought it was that good. D90044689091. So they just snap in place just like that, easy enough. And I bet you there's still one gripper clip on this remains of the foot peg. Bumping into the, so you could salvage that. And remove the remains of the rear of the foot peg is right here. So the best part about that foot peg is it protected this, the floorboard that kind of kicks out. Sometimes when you really crash them, they'll hammer this little corner. And one other little trick is when you remove this foot peg, this little end cap will come out, this painted end cap. So if you need to remove that end cap, that's how you get to that. And this is pretty simple. You just line it up and give it another technical tap with your fist. Just like that, makes a nice, nice snap noise. And put the screw back in. About as simple as it gets. And we'll come back, do a little touch up here, a little buffing, and touch up that front. Give the scooter a full wash and a wax, and it would be hard to even tell that ever was crashed. Hey everybody, Robot here, Vespa Motorsport. Thanks for watching my video. This is all to you Canadians, eh? Lake Lewis in Banff National Park here. Absolutely beautiful. I'll come back. Maybe I'll move to Canada. See you on the next one. Robot here.